Hello and welcome to the live stream. Sorry for those who were waiting on a different YouTube video. Not exactly sure why it ended up streaming to a different one, but if you're here or if you managed to figure it out and watching the recording, don't know what happened. But yeah, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Man, the tariff fears continued. The tariff saga continues. So let's just jump in. Let's take a look at the king of all crypto, Bitcoin, and we're getting this lower low. We're getting this lower low on the daily candle. So this is the lowest daily candle close that we've had since November of last year. So it's been a while. It's been a while since we've seen a daily candle close at or below this price. Not great. Not great. We really need to see a turnaround in sentiment. You know, I do believe that we still have more bull market ahead of us. It's just a matter of, geez, how low are we going to go before we get this pivot? The trade war continues, more fear in the markets, more irrational fear, really. The market is just scared. It's just full of paper-handed investors that don't actually... The thing, everybody's buying everything just for number go up. Not like if you ask someone, hey, why do you buy Apple stock? Oh, because I think it'll be worth more in the future. That's the reason. And you're probably hearing that and you're like, well, yeah. Nobody is buying because they believe that Apple's a good company. They're not like, oh, I want to have a share in a company that's successful. Nobody has that mindset. We've really deviated far from fundamentals, and a side effect of fundamentals is human emotion and paper-handed little bitches. You're probably one of those paper-handed little bitches. I'm sure at least one of the people watching today is a paper-handed little bitch. No offense, but this is just the statistics as to where we are in the market right now. It's very delicate, like paper. Yeah, so what are we looking at? Where are we standing? What do we have? Do we have anything bullish on the technical side to be looking at? Do you have any news that's noteworthy and bullish to talk about here? And the answer is, from a technicals point of view, the only thing, and there's plenty more for the bears right now, but the only thing that we have is a bullish divergence on the daily. That's it. That's all we got. We have a low, we have a lower low, and we have a low and a slightly higher or equal low. That's it. That's not much. That's really not much. We are below all of the moving averages. We are below the 7. We are below the 7. We are below the 30. We are below the 50. We are below the 200. We're below everything. We're currently below the prior bull market high lines that we've set. You know, we're only slightly below, so not a big deal. I wouldn't call it a breakdown just yet, but we're below a lot of shit. We're below a lot of shit. The only thing that is kind of bullish that we're going to have to wait and see how it resolves over the next 5 days is we are sitting on the 50-week EMA. And for those who caught Matt's brief market update, it was a 10-minute market update talking about green diamonds and talking about moving averages. He mentioned this 50-week moving average. You can see that it's held support so far in the past for this bull run so far, once and twice. So if we close below it in 5 days, if we are below 76,780, that's not going to be a very good sign. That's not going to be a very good sign, and we're going to have to take a look at selling some spot positions. Selling some spot. You know, we took our initial entries down at 18K, and if we close below that, don't have much of a choice. Even though I think we have higher levels to go, I'm going to have to wait for the break of bullishness and wait for some of the bullish indicators that we're looking at in the market to come back to re-enter and lose out on some of that Bitcoin. But, you know, I'm not going to ride this thing down to 40. Not saying that 40 is the target, just saying, if we can't get a reprieve here and this is the bull market top, which again, I think is unlikely, but if it is, 70% corrections, they're normal. They're normal. So we'd be coming right back down to our entry price. That's too bearish. That's too bearish for now. One step at a time. What are we looking at? The 50 week. We got a couple days. We got 5 days left to close out above the 50 week. I think the Fed is going to pivot. I think QE is going to start. I think the money printer is going to go burr. But those are fundamentals that don't have definitive correlation to price. You have to look at definitive price. The price doesn't lie. The candlestick doesn't lie. If the candlestick's red, the candlestick's red. If the moving averages are down, the moving averages are down. So those are the facts. And the only facts that we have available to us are these technical prices, and they're not painting the best picture. I have to be honest. They are not painting the best picture. Let's go to the daily. Actually, let's go to the 12-hour. And we have this structure. So we said, below this downward sloping line of resistance, be careful. There's really nothing to be too excited about. If you want to try and be one of those individuals who tries to nail the bottom, go right ahead. I am much, much happier to look for longs and be a buyer 10% higher than where we are right now. I think that, being 10% below this line carries significantly more risk than being 5% above this line. So, the line, it's kind of the line in the sand as far as risk. And the risk is off. The market, you got to put your biases aside. The market is telling us we ain't healthy. We're not doing well. We're trying to hold up, but, we're not able to make headway. That being said, Bitcoin is holding up compared to the indexes, which is something we do not see very often. We do not see Bitcoin like this. This is a horrendous move down. This loss of support here, Bitcoin was pretty much correlated this whole way down, this whole way up, and then it decoupled right around here. Bitcoin didn't lose its structural move and have this 12% move down in the S&P, which, a 10% move in the S&P is a 30% move in Bitcoin, generally speaking. So yeah, it's definitely decorrelated with the S&P and the NASDAQ. So traditional finance is where all of the turmoil is coming from. There's no surprises there. We know that it's coming from trade war, it's coming from tariffs, it's coming from the traditional finance side of things. And with that lens, when we look at Bitcoin, it's really not that bad. It's not that bad. But that doesn't mean that we are going to get cooperation from the indexes. If we keep falling, if everything keeps melting away, if all the prices keep falling, then Bitcoin's going to keep falling too. It might fall less. It might show comparative strength in the face of these indexes falling, but ultimately it will fall. If we start to get a rebound in the indexes, you're going to see a very strong move in Bitcoin, stronger than what you've been seeing recently, because this is just, the fact that we haven't fallen as far as the indexes is just showing you how much buying pressure there is trying to prop up Bitcoin. Especially because Bitcoin's way less liquid. It's in a liquid market. There's like 10% of the available supply on exchanges. Sure, there's a lot of OTC trading happening right now, but the liquid supply on exchanges is very low. US long-term yields going for a rip tonight. Yeah, everybody's going back to risk off. Let's take a look at the dollar. We haven't looked at the dollar a little bit, at least a week. Dollar's continuing to fall. That's what you want to see. We lost that level of the dollar. We rallied up to it and we're getting rejection. So, things are cooperating as far as the dollar is concerned, as far as the currency market is concerned. And that's probably why we're seeing this divergence between the performance of the S&P and the performance of Bitcoin. Yes, it's down, but it's not down as much as it usually would be. And the dollar might have something to play with that, because the price of Bitcoin is measured in dollars. So the weaker the dollar gets, the more dollars it takes to value a Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's holding up because the dollar is doing bad. If we can continue to fall in the dollar, and if they can print and devalue the dollar, then it makes a very, very significant bull case for Bitcoin. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point. Let's take a look at some other things. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Same picture, more leverage. Rebound. Then another red day. Will it come up and close some of these gaps? Gaps are targets for traders. They don't necessarily need to fill, but they are targets for traders. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, the news isn't getting any better. I haven't confirmed it yet. Maybe somebody else can confirm that the U.S. is planning on a 104% tariff, sweeping tariff on China. I always give myself a little bit of time to confirm these claims. Twitter, especially now during panic times, you got to be extra careful as to what you accept as fact online. So this is what I've heard so far. I haven't done my fact checking yet on that, but that's pretty aggressive. That's Trump being like, yo, come to the negotiation table if you want to work with us. And a lot of me feels that that's kind of what the plan is here. But how long do we got to do this dance? How long do we got to do this dance? MicroStrategy, another claim against MicroStrategy. Apparently there's a class action lawsuit on MicroStrategy. I don't know if that's substantiated or not as well, but yeah, there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of FUD. There's a lot of headlines going around out there, and it's not helping the market out at all. But MicroStrategy looks like shit. That's the monthly chart. Let's go over to the weekly chart on MicroStrategy. Yeah, it looks like it wants to dive. That's not a good weekly candle. We got 2 days left in this candle. If it closes as an inverse hammer, it's probably going to come back down and revisit this support level right here. Come back down to $100 from the high of 500 back down to 100. What would that be as far as a retracement on MicroStrategy? Let's see. Yeah, 76% retracement. That's bear market territory for sure. Yeah, 104% tariffs have been confirmed by the White House. Yeah, that's aggressive. Yep. Just took effect. It's aggressive. It's aggressive. All right, let's go back to Bitcoin, because we did kind of discuss what we were looking for. So let's start going into like, what are we looking for? So on yesterday's show, we were pumping. We said we're either going to pump up to this blue line, or we're going to pump up to this white line. And if we went to the white line, we would retest the blue line. If we got rejected at the blue line, we would retest the lower line. So we've come down and we've retested the lower line. We're on the 4-hour chart right now. There is a bullish divergence forming on this level. So if the tariffs are priced in, it's just a matter of time. Really, it's just a matter of time right now. Trump's going to go to the negotiating table. He's going to negotiate with basically all of the countries. He's going to, because they're going to be requesting, hey, what do you want? What do you want to do? How can we fix this? What can we do to, help, contribute our share, blah, 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 blah. That's what the whole move is. That's what this whole political move is. And once there's some positive news on that, you know, if this is the damage that was created and we still have demand for these assets, he's just going to flip the script and be like, all right, based off of, I had a great meeting with the president of China and this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we'll have to see. Eileen Young, thanks for doing what you do. In past videos, you mentioned that as the alphanumerics wave flipped red, it was telling you to sell, but you didn't follow through. Yeah, I did not follow through. And I have mentioned in the past as to why I didn't do that. And I'm going to be the first to admit, I got trapped. Ladies and gentlemen. So I had it perfectly laid out too. And I was able to perfectly execute it too. So it's a little bit frustrating that I didn't follow my own rules. The wave turned red here. And we were looking quite dire. And I'm like, well, you know, when it dumps, it pumps. We're going to get a pump. I'm going to exit as soon as we get that pump. Then the strategic Bitcoin reserve was announced and there was a mega pump up into my blue box where I said before I even knew about the announcement, we'll probably rally up to 94. I will exit at that point. We rallied up. I was super bullish on the Bitcoin strategic reserve and I didn't sell. And so now I'm trapped. So it is what it is. If it gets much worse, I will sell at lower levels. And this will be another lesson in listening to the indicator, which I've learned this lesson before. And this is just, you know, the news is noise. The news is noise. As a hardcore Bitcoin maxi, I was very excited to hear about the Bitcoin strategic reserve. And there was no mention of direct contribution to it. So I didn't take it as a top signal, but it was a top signal. It was an exit signal for sure. So I don't know. I've got lots of room to play with. Like I said, you know, we took our bigger positions down here at the initial green wave flip at 18K. So I got a lot of room to sit around and watch profits melt away and decide how I want to handle things. A lot of people aren't afforded that same luxury. But yeah, that's what happened. Lesson learned, follow the red wave, exit on the red wave. I don't short the red wave for those wondering. I don't consider us to be in a bear market just yet. And I don't short a bear market, or I don't short a bull market rather. I do think that Bitcoin has the ability to turn things around. So I'm holding on. I'm holding on for now. If we lose these levels, there's really nothing more for me to lean on at that point. If we lose this level, I'm gonna have to sell some, which sucks. I don't want to do it, but I will have to, and I will take my measly freaking 300% and leave. wasn't making those $20,000 entries for a 300 for a 4x, but we'll take it. But we'll see. We need to see. I don't think we're done yet. We still have, you know, that bullish divergence on the 4 hour. Things are very negative. If we get any bullish announcement, any sort of announcement of a relief, then it'll probably be quite the bounce in the markets, I would imagine. Also, with Saylor's average Bitcoin price around 66, what effect, if any, if he gets called on margin with a price near or below that level? I don't know, but I've said here on the channel for a while, I don't trust Michael Saylor. Everybody, you know, it happens every single cycle. There is some like amazing man who's like, oh my God, we're doing all this shit. Bitcoin is the best thing because this guy has figured out this thing. You know, last cycle it was Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX, and this cycle it's I believe it's Michael Saylor. The cycle before that, I don't know if you guys remember, it was kind of John McAfee. There was others as well, but I was newer at that point in identifying the false prophets, but never follow a false prophet. These guys are always full of shit. And you know what Bitcoin doesn't give a fuck about? People. Bitcoin doesn't give a fuck about people. Bitcoin is computer. People are so bullish on Bitcoin because of this MicroStrategy strategy. And so they buy MicroStrategy. That is so retarded to me. Absolutely fucking retarded. If you are holding more MicroStrategy than you are Bitcoin, hit the fucking books, dude. Hit the books, because you are trusting a person instead of a mathematical cryptographic protocol. People can't be trusted. People can never be trusted. Do I know what's going to happen when the price gets below the average price of MicroStrategy's entries? No. Class action lawsuit? I have no idea. I don't think he actually gets a margin call, but he could get sued. Who knows? Who knows? It's a big pot. It's a big pile of Bitcoin he's sitting on. And if somebody can legally figure out a way to get it through the bullshit and backstabbing of Wall Street, you better believe they're going to fucking do it. Michael Saylor's not a smart man, in my opinion. All right, I gotta top up my tea. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Wheels are playing the dip bet. This is one cash was up 400% and then disappeared in a couple of hours. Wheels are playing the dip bet. I don't know what you're saying, dude. Reformat your sentence so that I can have a better understanding of what you're trying to say. All right, going into Bitcoin dominance. Still climbing. Stay away from alts. If you have listened to that advice, you're in a much better position. As you can see, I'm still several 100% up in my overall portfolio on Bitcoin. If you're an altcoin trader, you are down. You are statistically down. Probably don't need to tell you guys that. You probably already know. XRP. XRP heading the direction we said it would. Looking around here. It's kind of the area of interest for XRP. For anybody who is interested in XRP. That's where you're looking. Around 2,000 sats. 2,000 sats per XRP is the zone to be looking at. What is that in dollars? Don't care. Do your own research. Cardano also heading down. It might hold here, actually. This is the mean. Where's the center line? There we go. Could be landing on the center line. We will see. Solana. That's track. Where's Solana? Solana's in no man's land, man. Solana's in no man's land. With a confirmed distribution. So I think he can still come down. This one might get down to 10,000 sats. 10,000 sats per SOL seems like a worthwhile target for SOL. This is why we wait. You guys know I was super bullish on SOL. I am still bullish on SOL in the context of a bull market, but I was very, very bullish on SOL, and I didn't act on it. Why? Bitcoin dominance was still climbing. I don't rotate until Bitcoin dominance rotates with me. It leads the way. I don't lead Bitcoin dominance, I follow Bitcoin dominance. And Sonic. Nothing burger. Nothing burger. They will trigger buy orders, but not in these prices. Just guessing, maybe in the mid 60K. MicroStrategy? I don't think they're that sophisticated. I actually think Michael Saylor's an idiot. He was an idiot back in 2000, and he's an idiot now. He was a con man back then, and he's a con man now. He's just a con man that everybody likes because he's shilling Bitcoin bags. All right, how are we doing on the yearly outlook here? Definitely our worst cycle. Look at all those cycles. So glorious. All those cycles are so glorious. We're supposed to be at 200K if we were in the last stifled shitty cycle. Even the 2017 cycle, 200K. And the cycle before that, we'd be at a 500,000. Yeah, it's shit. I don't think it's done. You know, I'm talking. I sound so depressed today. I'm not. I'm just finding it hard to produce content right now because of the fact that it's just a waiting game. It's a waiting game. You know, I got to come on here and I got to show the algorithm that I'm active. I got to help onboard people. But it's a waiting game right now. It's a waiting game. What was he doing in 2000? He was copying Microsoft. That's how he came up. He was capitalizing on the dot-com boom. So he started a technology company that didn't have any technology. And he called it MicroStrategy because it sounded like Microsoft. And he was just capitalizing on this fucking bull market, this crazy dot-com boom bull market in the late 90s up to 2000, and then he went bankrupt, and like the company went under, and then he bought all the shares or something. I don't know the whole story, but he's a moron. He's a nice Bitcoin prophet because he sure exudes confidence, and he does say a lot of the Bitcoin things. And there are a lot of Bitcoin fundamental things that I agree with that he says, but none of that leads me down a path of buying MicroStrategy. Fuck that. Everything he says is true about Bitcoin. That's why I buy Bitcoin. Fuck MicroStrategy. Yeah, we're getting the bounce. I think we'll get the bounce. So, you know, every time we dump, we pump. Every time we pump, we dump. This is a dump. We're going to pump. So what happens as a result of us leaving this low will determine if we're going to see lower levels or not. I think we come up and we give another attempt up at the downward sloping line of resistance. Over the next few days, we will probably get that attempt. And if we get a rejection, it's definitely time to take some chips off the table. If we get a breakout, then, you know, we got real close to being shaken out. And I think if we get a breakout, especially if it's a breakout on some sort of fundamental narrative, emphasis on narrative, because everything is narrative driven right now. Everything's a narrative. It doesn't, like, fundamentals don't fucking matter to anybody right now. But if you get this digestible narrative where, like, oh, it looks like Trump's doing some repair, or it looks like the tariffs aren't having that much of an effect, or it looks like the Fed's coming in and, you know, doing quantitative easing to help the adjustment period of the tariffs, like whatever the fucking bullshit is that the liars and cheaters and the higher ups come up with, the herd will eat it up like pudding. They'll gobble it up, and then we'll be off to the races again. So this is what I'm watching for. And on days like today, we're not watching it play out. Not yet, not just yet, but over the coming days, we could see that repair, and that gives us the ability to watch out for that breakout. I'm not intending to be so negative today. I don't know why I'm so negative. Must just be tired. How's gold doing? Gold must be benefiting from this, and it looks like it is. So gold, maybe we should pay closer attention to gold. Maybe we should pay closer attention to gold because its reflexivity to M2 money supply seems to be a lot more correlated. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. Let me pull up M2. You guys have seen this chart a million times. But let's pull up M2. Let's do this a different way, actually. Let's do this version. The year-over-year change. Yeah, let's see if we can look at this through a different lens. Oh. So this is global M2 year-over-year change. Different from the line. Basically shows expansion and contraction, which the line does too. The year-over-year change does too. But this is kind of like the oscillating effects of that. Look at how our red waves line up with it too. Look at that. Look at those red waves. They line up with contractions pretty nicely. Shameless plug on our favorite indicator, one of which I don't make any money off of. I just really appreciate Matt's work and love the alphanumerics indicator. Guys, get the alphanumerics indicator. It's fantastic. It looks complicated. I know it looks complicated, but it's really not. It's really not. It's a simple moving average array coupled with high time frame technical bias flips. And that's it. Like, it's super, super simple. And it's right a lot. And right now we're green. Gold is good. Gold is good to go. And you can see the expansion of the money supply here in the context of gold. And it's pretty lockstep. You can see when it started to contract, gold peaked, the wave turned red, and we went into contraction of the money supply. And gold consolidated. Then contraction went into expansion. Gold broke out. And gold has been expanding ever since. Let's take a look at the exact same chart on Bitcoin. It's not quite the same. There's an offset. Can you guys see that offset? And we've talked about this offset before. We've said it's not really lined up, but it does have its effects. So you can see this peak in inflows was about 70 days off from the peak of price. Then we consolidated. You can see this consolidation. Then we had the flows, the peak of the flows, and no breakout in Bitcoin, right? Now we go from the peak of the flows to the peak of Bitcoin. And again, 90 days in this case. So 70 days, 90 days, kind of this 70 to 100 day window. And then we fell in price. So now we've got this peak here in M2. And that's going out, we'll go 80 days. So 80 days brings us to end of May. We keep talking about May. And May just keeps coming up. We look at it at so many fundamental things. We look at so many different things that correlate with May. Let's go to 60 days. 60 days. Actually, no, we should be going at when do we start kicking things off? When do we start kicking things off? So here's the flip. Here's the flip from contraction to expansion. It's gonna happen soon. If it's not already here. So we're not looking too far down the road here based off of the lag that we saw here with Bitcoin. You know, this is saying mid-April. Again, we'll pull up gold because gold is very correlated. When expansion happens, gold happens. When the expansion's going, gold is moving. You can see that correlation quite clearly here. Expansion, gold goes up. Gold tops, contraction. Expansion, gold goes up. Gold tops, contraction. Expansion, gold goes up. And it's becoming more reflexive as well as the turmoil in the world continues. Gold tops, contraction begins. Contraction transitions to expansion, gold moves. So gold, a long-winded way of saying that we should pay attention to gold as a leading indicator. And gold, look at that. Is this the weekly? No, it's not the weekly. It's the daily, but it's bouncing off of the 50. It's not going to be bouncing off the weekly 50. It's in a much healthier trend. So if you're getting bored with Bitcoin, I think some moves are coming to Bitcoin. But if you are getting bored with Bitcoin, just buy gold. Gold's doing good. The fundamentals of gold continue. If you guys are enjoying this content, please leave it a like. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're watching on X, repost this, like the post, do all the things. It really helps us out. How many people watching on X? What's the ratio today? 29 people watching on X and 22 people watching on YouTube. That's a good ratio. That's more in line. That's more in line with what we usually get. Kind of an even split. All right. And yeah, by all means, go to blackbox.pro, set up your free Bitcoin trading bot, and get access to the VIP Discord server. This is your access right here. Join Discord. Join through the dashboard. Do not join through the links below unless you like doing extra work. You can join the Discord with the links below. But there are extra verification steps involved to keep out scammers. You can't just post links out there and expect scammers not to come into a free Discord and try and impersonate and scam people. But what scammers don't do is they don't set up accounts. So if you set up an account, you can get into the Discord verification free. All right. Yeah, we could be getting the bounce here. Could be getting the bounce. All right, I'm gonna close things out there because really we don't need to talk about alts. It's gonna be a news-driven day here, so we'll see what the day brings us. We'll see what the U.S. Open brings us. Are we gonna get another red day? Are we gonna get a green day? Are we gonna get a recovery? Given the headlines, unless something is announced before the morning bell, probably gonna be a red day. Probably going to be a red day as the negative tariffs have gone into effect. Bitcoin ripping at 200K next. I'll take it. I'll take it all day long, man. I'll take it all day long. Yeah, so we will have to pay attention to the open. Pay attention to the open, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to the narratives. Listen to the headlines, because as someone who has always denounced the news, even I can understand that the news has held pretty significant effects on the prices right now. And it's just the whole world is tuned in to what Trump's next move is going to be and what the retaliations are going to be. So we'll see. We'll see. Volume went up. Okay. We will see you guys in the next one. That is all the time I have for today. If you enjoyed it, do all the things. And until next time, please trade safe.